Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto has the ice release chakra, part 4. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. The sun had just begun to go down, and Team 7 was just about to begin cooking their food, when a kid wearing overalls, and a bucket hat walked into the clearing, gaining the attention of the ninja. Yes? Questioned Kakashi, looking at the kid. Ka-chan says food's ready, if you guys want to come in, said the boy, before walking back towards the house of their client. Naruto turned to Kakashi, who shrugged, and got up following the kid. Eating with the family might prove useful in the long run. Shino, and Ino Shorty followed after. Naruto turned to Fu, who was looking at him. Are you going to go? Questioned Fu. I was going to ask you that. Naruto. Fu shrugged, and got up. Naruto decided to do the same, and the two walked towards the client's house. Dinner was quiet, mostly just Azuna answering a few questions posed by the, and occasionally one from the genin. However, as the dinner drew to a close, Inari spoke up for the first time since Team 7 had entered the house. Why do you even try? Questioned the boy. I'm sorry, replied Naruto, being the one who heard him the clearest. Why are trying so hard? You're all just going to die. Go back to your easy lives in a village far away from the suffering here, yelled Inari. Inari, yelled Tsunami, yelling at the boy who was now glaring at Naruto. His hair was down, shadowing his eyes. The temperature of the room began to drop slowly, and everyone began to feel an oppressive presence flood the room. By the time the temperature had dropped to the point that everyone's breath was visible, Kakashi had moved to next to his blonde student, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, making him look up at his silver-haired sensei, who shook his head. Naruto turned to Fu, whose hair like his was shadowing her eyes. He grabbed the girl's wrist, and her head snapped to face him. Her orange eyes locked with his now frosty silver eyes, before he pulled her up, and walked to the door. Good night all, said Naruto before he and Fu walked out the door, Naruto slamming it behind him. What are their problems? Snorted Inari. Kakashi and Asuma literally had to hold Ino, and to a lesser extent Shino, back from beating the shit out of the kid. After it was clear that Asuma and Kakashi weren't going to let them go, the two decided to follow their unofficial team captain's lead. Good night, declared Ino, before walking out the door, Shino not saying anything, as he followed his teammate. With Naruto and Fu, the two stomped into the forest away from their camping area, not wishing to destroy the area in their rage. Once they were at what Naruto decided was a safe distance, he let red bubbly Chakra cloak his arm before he ran forwards, and slammed the limb into a tree. Fuck, roared Naruto, as the tree broke like a twig before being launched backwards towards more trees. Naruto dropped to his knees, his head hanging. As Fu too took her anger out of the floor around them, red Chakra began to flow out of Naruto, cloaking him in it. When Naruto calmed down, the voice of a cane came. Naruto ignored her, and let the chakra continue to flow. Naruto once more. Kane tried to speak with him, but he ignored her. Naruto, yelled at the woman, and still Naruto didn't respond, so with no other option she yanked his consciousness, and dragged him to his mindscape. Naruto had blacked out, and woke up on a grassy hill overlooking a lake with a home next to it, with a path leading away to a stone temple, and behind that a giant mountain range. He was very familiar with the landscape, having constructed it himself for his tenant, the Kyuubi no Vixen, or as he knew her. Naruto was about to get up from his position under a sakura tree to go and search for the Biju when he felt a pair of arms wrap themselves around him. It's okay Naruto, whispered a cane into the boy's ear, and with that Naruto lost it. He broke down and cried. He clung to a cane and let all of his negative emotions flow. The two had no idea how long they sat there, Naruto crying with a cane whispering words of comfort to the blonde. But then again, Naruto had many years of bottled up emotion he let go all at once, as he had been alone with at most one person for 6 years. And all that time he had to maintain a facade of calmness, Inari pushing his buttons with that little speech on him not knowing suffering, and Akane's comforting gestures just broke him. After the last of Naruto's tears were shed, he stood up. I'll be back in a little while, Akane, but need me now, said Naruto once more, applying his calm, collected facade. Akane sighed, as he left his mindscape. You need someone too, Naruto, thought the Biju sadly, as she waited for the blonde to return. Outside, Naruto found that at least half an hour had passed, and while he was out Fu had gone a little nuts, and semi-destroyed half of the clearing, and passed out, deciding he was feeling too drained to face his teammates, and more than likely some form of inquiry. The blonde pulled Fu into a hug, watching the pained expression on her face fade to one of mild comfort. Naruto then leaned back against a tree before closing his eyes, and returning to his mindscape while his body slept. The blonde boy was met with a cane who sat much like Naruto for Fu back against a tree, her 9 white tails dancing to some unknown rhythm around her. Naruto stepped forwards into the Biju's embrace. It just so began Naruto until a cane silenced him by putting one of her fingers to his lips. I know, spoke the white-haired fox lady, as she wrapped Naruto in her tails, while gently hugging him. Akane just smiled softly to herself, as Naruto relaxed in her arms, and even went so far as to hug her back. Akane gently began to run her hand through his blonde locks, looking down at the tear-stained face of the boy who had his eyes shut. Once she heard a snore from the boy, she leaned down, and planted her lips on his forehead. Sleep well Naruto, said Akane, as she too closed her eyes, and began to fall asleep. Next morning, Naruto woke up with a groan. Looking around he saw he was in a destroyed clearing. As he blinked, memories of the previous night came back to him. With a sigh he stood up, gently laying Fuyu against the tree behind him. As he did, as he stood, Naruto looked to his left to find Kubikirabacho leaning against the tree he had been sleeping on. Not even blinking, Naruto took the weapon in his hand and gave it a few swings, smirking slightly as he did. After testing how the blade felt in his hands, the blonde moved to the other side of the clearing from Fuyu and placed the blade on the ground as he began to carve a seal into the ground. After a few moments of silence, Naruto heard a slight groan and the crunching of leaves, wood, and grass underfoot. "Morning, sleepyhead," spoke Naruto in a teasing manner, not even looking back to the now awake Fuyu. "Morning," muttered Fuyu in response, rubbing her eyes. "So what are you doing?" asked Fuyu, looking at Naruto. "I am recombining Samehada and Kubikirabacho to recreate the original blade," said Naruto, concentrating on the task at hand of creating the seal. "How did you get Zabuza's sword, and how do you know they combine, and even how to combine them?" questioned Fuyu, leaning back against the tree. "Because like I said when I gave you the ring, Samehada is an Uzumaki clan relic. I just neglected to say that in actuality, she is only half of the relic. Kubikirabacho is the other half. They were originally one blade. I am just using a seal to recombine them. As to how I got the weapon, I have my ways, but I do ask that you don't tell Kakashi-sensei about this, please," explained Naruto. Fuyu nodded to her adoptive brother. After the explanation the two fell into a comfortable silence. "You sure do know a lot about Uzushio," spoke the mint-haired girl, breaking the silence. "Well, I should. I spent enough time there," said Naruto. "But wait, if Samehada and Kubikirabacho were originally one blade, and you need a seal to put them back together, how did they become two blades?" questioned Fuyu. Naruto smirked. "Well, from what I understand, the Gate of the Center, one of the 5 guardians of Yuzu, who wielded the blade, if they were really at one with the blade, it could show them how to split the blade into 2. And it was said that the blade supposedly was basically duplicated 2 smaller blades with the same powers as the original. However, one wielder tried to teach the next chosen wielder how to do it, but he failed. That failure in turn split the blade into the 2 fragments here, which the best seal masters in Uzushio then spent months, even years, on trying to reforge the blade. That's how this seal came to be. They figured out how to remerge the blades. But they were at war when it was finished, so they had no time to reforge the blade," declared Naruto with a sad smile, thinking of his fallen kinsman. "How do you even know about all of this?" questioned Fuyu. "I was in Uzushio for months. I gathered every book, scroll, and journal of any and all Uzumaki, so I found out many things from different journals, including some of people who immigrated to Uzushio, like several members of the Yuki clan, hence my Hyoten and Yuki blood. There were a few Kagaya, some Senju, a couple of Uchiha, even a Hyuga or 2. They just left their villages for varying reasons, some wanting to live peaceful life, some married into the Uzumaki, even some were just banished from their villages for various reasons," said Naruto before he put the 2 giant blades down on the seal Samehada on top of Kubikirabacho. Naruto stepped out of the seal, making sure not to disturb the seal. Naruto then knelt down next to the seal before channeling Chakra to his fingers and slammed his hands down at the same time, making the seal and 2 swords glow bright white. The light was so bright that Fuyu had to cover her eyes. Naruto, however, just channeled Chakra to a seal next to his eye, which darkened his vision, making the bright light a normal brightness, but everything else around him much darker. And with his enhanced vision, Naruto saw that both blades pulsed twice before slowly Samehada started to sink. Gold Kubikirabacho rose up from the ground. Once the 2 blades merged into one, the whole thing pulsed gold before the light died down, and Naruto let the Chakra dissipate from his eye seal, and Fuyu uncovered her eyes. What they saw shouldn't have been that surprising, but it was. The blade had the basic shape of Kubikirabacho with scales like Samehada on the flats of the blade. There was no hole in the middle of the tip of the blade, nor was there a notch in the cutting edge of the blade. The handle of the blade was the same one that once belonged to Samehada. Naruto leant forwards and grasped the sword by the hilt. "Suminakuya, sharp butcher, is once more whole," said Naruto, grinning. "Thank you for bringing me together once more, Naruto," came a womanly voice from inside Naruto's mind. "It's nice to finally hear your voice, Suminakuya," said Naruto, looking at the sword in his hands. "As I am glad to finally be whole once more." "Thank you, Naruto-kun," declared Suminakuya. Naruto rolled the blade in his hand a couple of times before sheathing it in the large strap on his back. "Naruto-san, Fuyu-san, come on, we have guard duty," spoke the calm voice of Shino as he walked into the clearing. "Well, time to go, Fuyu-chan," said Naruto, offering the girl a hand, which Fuyu took, gently pulling his adopted sister to her feet. The 2 of them began to walk towards the bridge following Shino. However, as the trio walked through the streets, they noticed something off with the people of Wave. Ignoring it, the trio continued towards the bridge. "Shino, Naruto, Fuyu, you 3 need to see this," called the shocked and somewhat scared voice of Ino as she ran up to the trio. "What is Ino-san?" asked Fuyu, looking at the confused girl. "Just come with me, sensei wants us all there anyway," replied Ino, turning around and running back the way she came. Naruto shrugged and followed her, the other 2 quickly doing the same. As the young ninja came closer to what could only be assumed as their destination, they saw a huge crowd of people, and it also became apparent what the problem, or in actuality lack thereof, was. Quickly making their way to the front of the crowd, they found Kakashi, Asuma, and Asuma's team standing at the front of the group, all of whom were looking up at Gato, muttered to Naruto looking up at the man. The short business tycoon was very clearly dead. His throat had been slit, also making it obvious he was killed elsewhere, as there was little to no blood on the ground around them. But the more shocking part about the man being dead was the fact that he was hung upside down by his ankles from a building with a long length of chain, and a black rose clenched between his teeth. "He's here," muttered Kakashi slowly to himself. "He's here." Asuma glanced at his fellow jonin. "Arashi Uzumaki," declared Kakashi in a low growl. "Arashi Uzumaki. Related to you?" asked Ino, looking from Kakashi to Naruto. "Yeah, he's my uncle," declared Naruto with a shrug. "Do you know where he is now?" asked Kakashi, turning to Naruto. "No, the last time I saw him was years ago," when Naruto spoke calmly. "Damn it," growled Kakashi, looking back at the body of Gato. He seemed annoyed by this sensei questioning Ino, looking at Kakashi confused. "He's a wanted man," declared Kakashi, narrowing his one visible eye. "What did he do?" asked Ino, scared. "He crippled 2 Konoha shinobi, and killed another," speaking Kakashi in a low tone. "In self-defense," declared Naruto, narrowing his eyes, glancing at Kakashi. "What do you mean, Naruto-san?" questioned Shino, looking at the blonde. "Well, Kakashi-sensei and his team attacked my uncle after demanding something that was his, that they had no right to, so he did what he had to do to get away," spoke Naruto with a shrug before glancing to Kakashi, almost daring the man to dispute what he said, when nothing but a growl was forthcoming. Naruto turned and began to walk away. "Where are you going, Chunin?" questioned Kakashi, clearly in a bad mood with his student. "We still have a mission to complete." "I'm going to the bridge to make sure none of Gato's thugs pull something," spoke Naruto, not even glancing back at the group of ninja. "I'm surprised you didn't tell them the other reason you attacked the Konoha shinobi," spoke Akane from within Naruto's mind. "They don't need to know everything," replied Naruto, narrowing his eyes, pulling a box of cigarettes out of his pocket, flicking one out of the box, and placing it to his lips. "This is a dangerous game, Naruto-kun, please, just be careful," pleaded Akane. "Always Akane-chan," replied Naruto, lighting the cigarette. A week later, Naruto stood with the rest of the Leaf Shinobi on the wave end of the now complete bridge. The 2 jonin were evidently sorting out what was to be the payment for the mission. Dazuna had been a little bit nervous that Sabusa would attack them after the shinobi left, but Kakashi eased those fears, having searched around the island nation, looking for the Kiri shinobi, and had found nothing before suggesting that he had heard the news of Gato's death, and left, as he would have had no reason to stick around. Kakashi had kept a closer eye on Naruto after his behavior upon finding Gato's body, and being questioned about his connection to Arashi. They had even asked about the recombined Samenakuya, under the illusion it was still Samehada, and its sudden change. Naruto had told the elder shinobi a half-truth, saying Samehada is sentient, and capable of changing her form to a limited degree. There was still some tension between Kakashi and Naruto, but a lesser amount than the day of the incident. Naruto looked to Fuyu, who was currently talking with Shino, and Ino, the matcha-skinned girl, having developed a decent friendship with both of Naruto's teammates over the time they had spent together, which he was thankful for. "I think the Uchiha's in love with you," came the voice of Akane within Naruto's mind, causing the blonde's eye to twitch, as he had been trying to ignore Sasuke. "Yeah, with the amount of attention he's been paying to me recently, I think you might be right," replied Naruto, annoyed, as he glared at Sasuke, who was looking at the blonde with narrowed eyes. "Take a photo of Uchiha. It will last longer," spoke Naruto tauntingly. "Fight me," ordered the brooding Uchiha. "No, we are just about to leave. Besides, why would I fight such a self-centered little prat?" questioned Naruto. "What's the matter, dope? Scared?" replied Sasuke, hoping to taunt the blonde shinobi into a fight. "Have you hardly," replied Naruto, turning away from the Uchiha. "Alright, you have a lot of time to go," spoke Asuma, as he and Kakashi walked over to the Chunin. 2 days later. "It's my pleasure to welcome you to our ranks, Fuyu," declared Hiruzen, handing the girl a Konoha headband. "Now, Fuyu, you have been offered a place in the Abiram compound should you choose," said Hiruzen, looking at the girl tying the headband around her upper arm. She turned to the aged Cage, and shook her head. "No thank you, Hokage-sama, for now. I wish to stay close to my Nai-san." Fuyu stepping closer to Naruto. Hiruzen nodded. "Well, alright, for now you will be assigned to Team 7 until I can find another team to put you with," declared Hiruzen. "That works for me," stated Fuyu with a grin. "Okay, well then, that's settled. Dismissed, except for you, Naruto," said Hiruzen, waving both teams away. "My team, I'll see you guys at our regular training ground in 2 days. Until then you have off," said Kakashi, getting a nod from Team 7. "You lost, the same deal. See you in 2 days," said Asuma before he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi did the same thing. All of the Chunin minus Naruto and Fuyu walked out of the room, leaving the 2 Jinchuriki alone with the Hokage. "I'll meet you outside, Imoto," spoke Naruto, nodding to Fuyu. The green-haired girl nodded nervously before walking out of the room. "So what's up, Gigi?" asked Naruto, turning to the elderly Cage. And who left us, ordered Hiruzen before simultaneously 3 spots within the room shimmered, and a flare of chakra could be felt. I would like the truth about the wave mission from you, declared Hiruzen leaning on his hands looking at the blonde seriously. What do you mean Hokage-sama? Asked Naruto. Come now Naruto-kun, what kind of fool do you take me for? Asked the Hokage with a semi-dangerous air about him. Just out of curiosity, what gave it away? Questioned Naruto. Kakashi may have never seen her, but I will always remember seeing Suminokuya wielded by the Uzumaki. I could never forget that weapon. You were given Kubikira Bacho, and recombined the blades I presume, spoke the elderly Kage. I was given the blade, declared Naruto with a nod. Zabuza continued, Naruto getting a shocked look from Hiruzen. How on earth did you get him to give you the blade? That man was said to be as close as they came to his blade, said Hiruzen. Arashi Oji-san, last time I saw him gave me a copy of a letter he said was from the Mizukage to be given to Zabuza, should I ever run into the man, and I was told I would be given the Kubikira Bacho to recombine the blades, said Naruto. So I take it that the assassination of Gato was in fact your handiwork, not Arashi's? Asked Hiruzen with a quirked brow causing Naruto to sigh. Yeah, that was me, declared the blonde. Why use Arashi's signature, and not make one of your own? Inquired the aged Kage. What if Zabuza wasn't the only ninja on Gato's peril? Arashi Oji-san's signature is known the world over, even if he isn't. If another ninja saw that, what do you think they would do? Questioned Naruto looking at the Kage. Fair point, but surely you knew what Arashi had done to Konoha, and specifically Kakashi, speaking Hiruzen. Yes I do, but I didn't think Kakashi-sensei would have been hit so hard by seeing it, replied Naruto looking down somewhat ashamed of his actions. Naruto, Kakashi lost a friend, and failed 2 comrades, because of Arashi. If you have any information, began Hiruzen. I don't, and even if I did I wouldn't say Arashi Oji-san may have killed a Konoha shinobi, and crippled 2 others, but they deserved it, Jiji, declared Naruto. What do you mean Naruto? Asked Hiruzen, greatly confused by what the blonde said. Aside from trying to steal my clan's property, those 3, they no forget it, said Naruto shaking his head, as if to clear his thoughts before looking up to Hiruzen. I'm sorry Kakashi-sensei was hurt by Arashi Oji-san's actions, but I'm not sorry that the others ended up crippled or dead, declared Naruto. Naruto-kun, muttered to Hiruzen looking at the boy. No, they shouldn't have been trying to take what belongs to my clan, spoke Naruto. I agree with Naruto-kun, and I am sorry that they were. It was not on my orders, I swear, declared Hiruzen. Oh bullcrap old man, they were your shinobi, in a squad of 4, and what they just happened upon an Uzumaki temple, and just happened to know the right artifact to take, growled Naruto, annoyed that the Hokage was trying to palm off responsibility. I didn't say they weren't ordered to, they were just not by me. In recent years my authority has been undermined by my old teammates, and my old rival. They all feel I have become too soft to be Hokage, but every time I make a move to deal with them they're one step ahead of me. And have disposed of anything incriminating, spoke Hiruzen. Did the Hokage Jiji act like it, ordered Naruto. Naruto-kun, I'm tired. I should have retired by now to spend days with my children and grandchildren. I'm just so tired, said the elderly Kage for the first time in Naruto's eyes, actually looking his almost 70 years of age, the bags beneath his eyes becoming darker, the winkles on his elderly face drooping ever lower. I'm sorry Jiji, maybe it's time you thought about a successor, suggested Naruto. Thank you Naruto-kun, you can go, spoke Hiruzen with a sigh, turning to face the window, as he heard Naruto leave the room, closing the door behind him. I wish there was someone, muttered Hiruzen to himself looking out the window, sighing once more, as he turned back to his desk. One last time, muttered to Hiruzen, beginning to write a letter. Outside with Naruto. Naruto walked out of the tower to find Fu looking a little anxious leaning against the tower. Hey Moto, spoke Naruto drawing Fu's attention to him. The girl calmed, and stepped over to Naruto. Hey, what did Hokage-sama want? Asked Fu tilting her head. He caught on that I wasn't being entirely truthful, and wanted the truth, spoke Naruto simply, before he began to walk off, Fu quickly falling into step beside him. The two walked through the village, many people sending glares Naruto's way. The blonde himself just ignored the looks, as he led Fu to Jiraiya's now shared home. The trip was short and quiet, Fu just taking in her new surroundings, and Naruto ignoring hateful looks sent his way. Do you live here? Questioned Fu unbelieving, as she and Naruto entered the property. Yeah, me and my godfather, spoke Naruto leading his fellow Jinchuriki up the path to the house. Opening the door and letting Fu inside, Naruto glanced at a clock near the door, determining that it was probably safe to call out if he spoke up. Oji-san, I'm home. In the lounge kid, Jiraiya called back. Naruto led Fu to the lounge room where they found Jiraiya with a small book in one hand and a brush in the other. Oji-san, this is Fu. Fu, this is my godfather Jiraiya. Fu's new to the village, and I said she could stay with us for the time being, spoke Naruto introducing the girl to his godfather. Jiraiya glanced over at Naruto and Fu. That's fine, just remember to explain the house rules, declared Jiraiya with a grin, and a wink at the two, causing Naruto to roll his eyes, and Fu to look at the blonde confused. Later that night, Kakashi stood with the others in the Hokage's office, and to the shock of those around him, he was actually on time for the meeting, and the Hokage had yet to arrive. While everyone was wondering what sort of planetary alignment had to be going on for Kakashi to be there on time, Hiruzen opened the doors and walked in with a pair of Anbu flanking him. Alright everyone, let's get this started. As we all know, the exams are to be held here this time around, so we need a strong representation of our village's strength, said Hiruzen, taking his seat. So let's begin the nominations, said Hiruzen, looking at the sensei. By Kurenai Yuhi Jonin sensei of teammate elect Shikamaru Nar, Hinata Hyuga, and Sakura Haruno for the Chunin exams, said Kurenai, stepping forwards. Hiruzen noted the names, and the entire room broke out into whispers, mostly regarding the fact that a team of rookie genin had been volunteered. Asuma Sarutobi Jonin sensei of Team 10 nominated Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inizuka, and Choji Akamichi for the exams, declared Asuma, once more making the room burst into whispers, while Hiruzen noted the names. Like Kakashi Haddock Jonin sensei of Team 7 nominate Shino Aburam, Ino Yamanaka, and Fu Uzumaki as a team of 3 for the Chunin exams, and I also nominate Naruto Uzumaki Yuki to take the exams solo, declared Kakashi. What? Screamed out many of the occupants of the room. It was a bright and sunny morning for the village of Konoha. The birds were singing, the sun was shining, and ninja were furiously hopping about the village doing their various tasks. Looking to Training Ground 7, we find 4 individuals within the training ground, with 4 copies of one of the 4 individuals. Around the training ground we find a Naruto clone with each of the other members of the team, while Naruto himself was off on his own with a notebook, brush, and ink in hand. The clone with Fu was doing some light sparring with the green-haired girl, while the clone with Ino was discussing the mechanics of her clan's jutsu so as to give Naruto a greater understanding on how it worked. Meanwhile, the Naruto with Shino was going through a list of weapons with the Aburam heir. Alright, let's see about this, muttered Naruto to himself, making hand signs. Koribunshin Jutsu, Ice Clone Jutsu, spoke Naruto, the water in the air freezing around him, forming a clone of ice. Once the clone had fully formed and colored, it stepped towards Naruto, holding its left hand out, palm up. Naruto quickly set about creating a seal on the clone's hand, matching the in his notebook. It took all of 3 minutes for Naruto to draw the seal on his clone's hand and forearm. Once the seal was done, Naruto nodded to the clone, before quickly jumping backwards into a nearby tree. Taking a deep breath, the clone clenched his fist and slammed it into the ground, channeling chakra into the seal the real Naruto had drawn on his hand. Once the clone's hand smashed into the ground around him just short of shattered, creating a crater 10 feet wide and a foot or so deep, and letting out a loud cracking noise and kicking up a large dust cloud. Holy shit, what was that? Screamed Ino, jumping back, looking over to the loud noise and instinctively pulling out a kunai. Fu jumped, turning to the sound, and drew a pair of kunai, all the while hyperventilating slightly. Shino also jumped at the noise, but instead of pulling a weapon, he threw his hands out forwards, ready to send his insects out in swarms to attack the threat. Calm down, you three, I was just testing a seal, spoke the real Naruto, jumping down between the trio and his clone in the crater. What kind of seal creates that much destruction? Questioned Ino indignantly. A seal designed to mimic Tsunade-sama's super strength, declared the Naruto clone, stepping out of the crater, rolling his left hand with his right hand on his left wrist. Still not the right, boss, spoke to the clone, looking at Naruto. What this time other than still not strong enough? Asked Naruto, looking at the clone. Not enough shock absorption in the wrist, and not a tight enough focus in the chakra concentration, declared the clone, getting a nod from Naruto before the clone shattered into shards of ice. Naruto glanced at the seal in the notebook in his hand, humming to himself as he looked at it. Before the rest of his team could begin to question him further, a tornado of leaves kicked up in the middle of the training ground. Naruto's clones all shattering into shards of ice. The tornado died down, revealing Kakashi. You're late, said Naruto, narrowing his eyes as he looked at Kakashi, who simply smiled at his genin. Now Naruto, calm down. I have reason to be late, spoke Kakashi, casually waving off the genin, before holding up several pieces of paper. Alright, you, for the exams are coming up. These are entrance forms. I have nominated you 4 for the exams: Ino, Shino, and Fu, as a 3-person team, and Naruto solo, declared the silver-haired shinobi, causing the genin to go wide-eyed and forget any argument they may have had, as Kakashi handed each of them a form. Now you guys don't have to compete, but if you want to take those forms filled out, obviously, to the Academy Room 301 next week, said the one-eyed man, getting a nod from each of the genin. But until then we have some training to do, declared Jonin. That's what we were just doing, sensei. Naruto Nai has been helping us while we waited, declared Fu, causing Kakashi to turn to his blonde student. Is that so? Well then, Naruto sensei, what shall we work on? Asked Kakashi in a friendly, joking manner. While I was working on some Fuinjutsu myself, I had Fu-chan training in some basic Taijutsu with a clone. As Taki wasn't the most helpful when teaching her, I was suggesting a weapon for Shino either hollowed out or with seals on it for his bugs, and was planning on suggesting he learn some Jinjutsu to complement his style. And I was getting a rundown from Ino-chan on how her clan works, so I could provide some insight in how to use it, and I think I have something that I could suggest, spoke Naruto, getting an impressed look from Kakashi on the well-thought-out tips training he was giving his teammates. What's your idea for me, Naruto? Asked Ino with a quizzical look. Well, you said that your clan tethers their minds to chakra which they then launch out to use there. What if you were to take that chakra and channel it into a chakra conductive weapon? That way when it makes physical contact with anything the opponent is holding, you can then force the chakra through that and take control of their mind that way, suggested Naruto, getting an intrigued look from Ino. Also, doing this would give you surprise against opponents who have studied Yamanaka of the past and give you an extra skill in your repertoire, declared Naruto. The only problem with that is if I do that my actual body is in harm's way, spoke Ino. I could create a seal designed to trigger when your mind leaves your body that makes it fade out of people's view, as if your actual body was a which could throw people off, suggested Naruto. Alternatively, or even on top of, that you could have a summon to protect your body, proposed Kakashi. That's a great idea, sensei. Actually, on that topic, do any of you three already have summoning contracts? Asked Naruto, looking at the rest of his team. No, I do not, spoke Shino. Me neither, said Ino. I do, with the rhinoceros beetles, declared Fuu, getting a nod from Naruto. Why do you ask, Naruto-san? Questioned Shino, looking at his blonde male teammate. While in my travels I acquired several summoning contracts, a couple from missions I did for people, some I bought off the black market, and one or two that I got via some less than savory means, spoke Naruto, lifting his right shirt sleeve revealing a tattoo of a scroll in the mouth of a lion. I didn't need them myself, but I kept them, so they didn't end up in the wrong hands. Naruto bit his left thumb, and rubbed it over the scroll of the tattoo on his right arm, and in a puff of smoke a small scroll appeared in his hand. Naruto, I'm not sure giving Shino and Ino summoning contracts is a good idea, said Kakashi, looking at his blonde student. It's not the best idea. No, they don't have the highest reserves. I know I'm a censor, but I also know that they do have enough chakra to summon at least one small summon each, and still have a reasonable amount of chakra left over. But not only does this again give them another skill in their repertoire, but a goal to work for. However, if you say no, I will accept your decision, sensei, spoke Naruto, looking to the silver-haired Jonin. Kakashi took a moment to think about it. He wasn't trying to hinder his students. But such a chakra-intensive technique wasn't the best to teach to a genin, but it wasn't unheard of for a genin to learn the Kuchiya no Jutsu, summoning jutsu, and he was the one who had brought the topic up with his suggestion to Ino. If you two are to learn the Kuchiya no Jutsu, you are not to use it in combat until I give you an all clear to start doing so, okay? Said Kakashi, looking at Ino and Shino, both of whom nodded. The day of the Chunin exams, Academy. Naruto stood alone in front of the academy. He was alone. As per an agreement with the rest of his team, they had agreed to not show up together, as they weren't going to work together in the exams, so Naruto was by himself, while Fuu, Ino, and Shino would be together if they were participating. Naruto had decided that if he was going for the exams, he was either going to fly under the radar and be all stealthy about everything, or be over the top and intimidating, and given the giant sword strapped to his back, he had decided the first option was out. So Naruto walked into the academy channeling chakra to his eyes, so they glowed an ominous icy blue, and at the same time Naruto leaked some of his Kai and Hyoten chakra in a very terrifying combination. Most people stopped and turned to Naruto as he walked into the academy. And up the stairs, on the second floor, Naruto saw a large group of genin crowded around a door. Marked on a sign above the door was the number 301. Naruto rolled his eyes and just walked past the semi-cowering genin. To add extra emphasis on his imposing presence, Naruto pushed enough Hyoten chakra to his feet that the floor froze underfoot as he walked along and up the stairs, completely ignoring the group of genin. On the next floor, Naruto walked through the halls towards room 301. The blonde heard a ruckus behind him, but ignored it, as he could sense the arrogant Uchiha was involved. As Naruto approached the door to the actual test room, he saw Kakashi standing there, waiting. "Good luck," Naruto said to Kakashi, getting a nod from the blonde before he opened the door. As soon as Naruto opened the door, he was blasted by a weak amount of Kai from many different sources. "Wow, really, that's it for a room full of genin. I expected more," said Naruto with a sigh, before he let out more of his own Kai, tilting his head to the right and letting a psychotic smirk cross his face, while simultaneously lowering the temperature of the room with his Kai. Within seconds, almost all of the genin fell to their knees, looking at Naruto terrified. Only 1.5, maybe 2 dozen stood tall against Naruto's Kai. Naruto took note of the ones who stood tall before walking to the corner of the room, letting his Kai drop before slamming his blade into the floor, then jumping up and leaning against the corner of the room while standing on his blade leaning against the wall. Naruto just sort of zoned out, not paying attention to anything, until a huge cloud of smoke erupted at the front of the room, making Naruto snap back to reality. The blonde watched as the smoke cleared and saw a heavily scarred man standing at the front of everyone. Alright, sit down and shut up, Magus, said the man. My name is Ibiki Marino, and I am the proctor for the first exams. Welcome to hell, declared the man with a smirk. The first stage of the exams is a written test. I will now explain the rules, and there will be no questions, growled Ibiki, glaring at the young genin in the room. First, each of you will be randomly assigned seating, so you won't be next to teammates. Second, the test is based on a point system. You each start with 10 points. You lose points for every answer you get wrong. Third, if you are caught cheating, you will lose 2 points. And just so you don't get any smart ideas, we will have several people watching over you as you go. Third, once one member of your team reaches 0 points, you are all out. Clear? Questioned Ibiki, looking around the room. Sir, began a timid voice. I said no questions, bellowed the man, glaring at the genin who dared raise their voice, who apparently Sakura Naruto realized as he glanced to where Ibiki was glaring. Now come up and get one of these tabs and a test, ordered Ibiki. After he spoke, genin began to cautiously approach the man, and behind him to get a tab and a test. Naruto was one of the first to casually walk up to Ibiki. The tab number represents your seat position. Once you are given it, find your seat and sit, and don't look at the test until I speak, Ibiki. There will be a total of 10 questions, 9 on the test, and the 10th will be given at the end of the test. You will have an hour to answer the 9 questions, declared Ibiki, as people begin to take their seats. Naruto found himself towards the front of the room, about 3 rows back from the front. Naruto's eyes whitened slightly, as a white-haired purple-eyed genin of Kiri sat down next to him, glancing at the sword on Naruto's back. The Mizukage said that she was to be returned to my clan. Don't think you're going to take her from me, growling Naruto quietly to the genin. Calm down, Uzumaki. I know the deal my brother made. I just wasn't sure if that was really Samehada, replied the genin with a toothy grin. Naruto turned away from the genin, trying not to get annoyed by the young man. Alright, you may begin, ordered Ibiki, as the last genin made it to their seat. Naruto looked down at the paper on the desk before him, and instantly saw something off. These questions are way too hard. These are Anbu level questions, thought Naruto to himself, as he read over the questions. Naruto took a second to think over the situation. Well, we're clearly not supposed to be able to answer these questions on our own, and if they truly wanted to discourage cheating, it would have been an instant fail. So Naruto glanced down at the test once more. Akane-chan, are you awake? Questioned Naruto with an internal smirk. For you, Naruto-kun, always, replied the Biju with a purr. Naruto almost felt the urge to shake his head at the Biju. Just as Naruto was about to talk to the kitsune about the first question, a smoke bomb went off, filling the room with smoke, and amidst the coughing and spluttering, Naruto heard the distinct whistling of kunai. An instant later, a strong gust of wind kicked up, and the smoke was gone. Who's the Joker? Questioned Ibiki with a growl. Sorry sir, it fell out of my pouch, declared a feminine voice, Naruto glancing at the woman, a Konoha genin with her brown hair tied into 2 buns. Make sure it doesn't happen again, ordered Ibiki, getting a semi-fearful nod from the girl. However, Naruto could just barely see the razor-thin ninja wire going from the girl's seat towards the roof, causing him to smirk. Clearly he wasn't the only one who figured out the test. Naruto was indeed not the only genin to figure out the true test. Throughout the room, various genin were also either working out that they had to cheat or working out how to. The previously mentioned blonde-haired girl had a mirror attached to the wire. Naruto had barely seen that she was manipulating to get a good view of other people's tests, as they wrote. Those genin with Dojutsu were using set Dojutsu. Shino was using his bugs to scout out other people's answers. Ino was waiting until Sakura appeared to finish before doing anything, as she was going to mind jumping to Pink Hair's knowing it all, and copy her answers. Fui was following Naruto's lead, and looking inwards for the answers, asking her tenant who was obliging, and giving her the answers. Several of the genin were answering the questions on their own. The room was filled with the sounds of scribbling for the better part of 10 minutes before. Thunk. The kunai embedded itself in the desk and paper of one of the genin. What the hell, yelled the genin, looking up, drawing the attention of most of the genin. You have been caught cheating, get out, take your teammates with you, growled Ibiki, silencing the genin's protests before they could begin. With that, the genin with the kunai in his test got up and left the room with 2 others who were both glaring at their failed teammate. And like that, genin began dropping like flies. Number 34, 62, and 76, you fail, called the voice of a seated on the side of the room. 44, 90, 124 out, called another. 55, 73, 89, 106, 155 leave. 23, you're out. The eliminations continued for the whole time of the test, all the while the sound of pencil on paper permeated the room. Excuse me, spoke to one of the Suna genin, raising his hand after about 40 minutes. What? Questioned Ibiki harshly. Bathroom, replied the genin. He did at least have the decency to look sheepish. One of them will take you, spoke Ibiki, as one stood up, the genin quickly getting up and following. Naruto at this point was sitting back, having finished about 5 minutes earlier. Alright Magus, this is your 5-minute warning, spoke Ibiki, glancing up to the door as it opened, and the Suna genin stepped back in, followed by the I hope you found your break enlightening, spoke Ibiki with a smirk looking at the genin who looked calm, but Naruto could tell the young man was panicking on the inside as Ibiki spoke. The room was filled with more erratic sounds of pencil on paper, as the genin desperately tried to fill out the questions they hadn't finished. I've never got people's obsession with rank, it's not like it's an indisputable gauge of strength, said Akane in Naruto's mind. I don't get it either, the only damn reason I'm here is because Konoha locks all scrolls, and knowledge behind rank doors, replied Naruto. You're a perfect example of the stupidity of using rank to gauge strength. We both know that you could easily kick the asses of everyone in this room combined, and yet you're still a genius, spoke Akane. Flattery gets you nowhere, declared Naruto. It's not flattery, it's a fact. Even without my power you have single-handedly ended more Chunin, Jonin, and hell even Anbu than most A rank, and even some S rank ninja, yet you are still a genin, said Akane. Because most people don't know that, nor have I shown off that level of strength since I got back, replied Naruto with a mental shrug. Not to that level, but enough that you should be at least a damn Chunin by now. Then it might finally start getting through to people that you are not me, declared Akane. I don't care what people think of me, Akane-chan, you know that. So long as people work with me I don't care, said Naruto confused, as to why it mattered so much to the Biju. I care though, muttered Akane. Alright Magus, time's up, roared Ibiki, stopping Naruto from continuing his conversation with his tenant. Pencils down, hissed Ibiki, as some genin continued to write. The genin still writing quickly stopped, not wanting to test Ibiki's patience. Before we go any further, the 10th question is an elective question, you can choose whether you want to take it or not, spoke Ibiki in a calm tone. What happens if we don't take it? Questioned a genin yelling from the back of the room. Well, you fail of course, declared Ibiki, as if it was the simplest thing in the world. What the hell, of course we'll take it then, called the same genin. Are you sure? Even if it means if you fail you can never take the exams again? Questioned Ibiki with a sadistic smirk. What? Screamed a number of genin, some confused, some terrified, and some clearly both. If you choose to take the question, and you fail you will be banned from taking the Chunin exams again, elaborated Ibiki. What the hell, there's people here who have taken the test before, questioned one of the Suna genin. Tough luck they didn't have me as a proctor when they took the test, said Ibiki. You have 5 minutes to think this over, declared Ibiki leaning back on his desk. Naruto knew that Ibiki was lying through his teeth. There was no man nor woman in the elemental nations with the power to ban a potential genin from exams, so while the other genin sweated over the option to take the question, Naruto simply kicked back in his chair. I'm out, sorry guys, spoke a random genin apologizing to his teammates, as he got up, and quickly left the room. Off you go whoever was on that coward's team, said Ibiki in a mocking manner. 4 other genin quickly got up, shaking their heads following their teammate. I can't do this, declared another genin, getting up, her teammates getting up, and walking out of the room. The same pattern continued for the next few minutes, one genin leaving apologizing to their team who followed after them. Naruto continued to relax. He would have continued his conversation with Akane, but she had cut off their link. As the time drew to an end, Ibiki, clearly not liking Naruto's relaxed position, approached the genin. You aren't scared about your future, blondie? Questioned Ibiki harshly. Nope, replied Naruto, not even opening his eyes. Even if it means that you can never take these exams again? Questioned Ibiki. Hey, even if that were true, I could always get a field promotion, so what's there to worry about? Asked Naruto, calmly peeling open one of his eyes to get a good look at Ibiki, who looked annoyed. You think I'm lying about something? Questioned Ibiki gruffly. No, I know you were lying, declared Naruto, giving up on relaxing, and letting his feet fall below the desk again. I know for a fact that there is no man or woman in the elemental nations that can bar a genin from the exams, not an Anbu commander, not a daimyo, not even a Kage, declared Naruto, which much to Ibiki's annoyance, steeled the nerves of the genin thinking about giving up. Walking back to the front of the room, Ibiki turned back to the room full of semi-confident genin. Last chance to back out, declared Ibiki, hoping to shake at least 1 or 2 more of the genin. Seeing no more significant doubt in any of the genin, Ibiki sighed inwardly. You all, growled Ibiki, pausing for one last-ditch effort to sway the genin. Pass, declared Ibiki. What? Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then, sayonara.